Welcome to the RC Movement Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Cohen, and these are performance hacks for your life, your fitness, and your business. Welcome to episode 8 of Performance Hacks for your life, your fitness, and your business. And today I'm super excited because I've got my very first guest on the show, the incredible, amazing, sensational gut health specialist from right here in Bangkok, Thailand, Laura Martin. Laura, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And today's, I'll tell you a little about Laura. So she's, Laura's from Chicago, and she's been in Bangkok for 4 years now, and runs an incredible company, which is called Healing to Happy, which is about online holistic healing programs focused on gut health. Yeah. Awesome. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your business?
Sure. So Healing to Happy is an online holistic approach to healing your life, essentially. My tagline is, healing from the bottom up, because I specialize in the microbiome, so gut health in relation to mental health, as well as just everything else in your life, because it has such an important role. There's a reason it's called the second brain. So I help people make sustainable shifts that are not too intimidating. It's not just writing a diet plan that isn't going to work. It's figuring out your unique path that you need to walk. It's your roadblocks. It's your personal lifestyle shifts that then are tailored to this plan that takes 3 months long to figure out, that then you can take with you for the rest of your life.
Also, that sounds really easy for people to implement. It's very personalized, depending on their situation.
Exactly. So we work together to help people heal themselves. That's the goal.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Before we get into the guts of the show, so Laura was at my very first training yesterday, Pump for Performance, that we did on leadership skills for your personal and professional lives. Did you enjoy the...
I did. It was amazing. It was very pumped up. It was perfect. I took a lot just from personal development, but as well as what I can bring into my practice. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with all of us.
Awesome. And you participated beautifully along the whole program, actually. And it was really. What was your key takeaways from that training session, do you think?
Really understanding my own breakdown and how I am as a learner, but also that I can then communicate with my clients and workshops and stuff like that, so that I can move forward in a progressive way.
Awesome. That's great. And another thing that Laura's doing as well, that she's just been telling me about off the air, was about some of the community building programs and projects that she's got going on here in Bangkok, Thailand. Would you like to tell us a little bit about those programs?
Sure. So the first one that we have here is Bangkok Expats Healthified, which you can find on Facebook. It's a private Facebook group where we're just trying to build community to bring awareness to the healthy side of life in Bangkok, because it can be a little nightlifey here. And we just, so many of us are expats, and it can get lonely being away from home. So we're trying to just have healthy events every month, and in that we have dinner parties, and other people post their events, and it's just creating a community around that. And then one of the new ones that I just started, which is on this Sunday, is our first one, is Mental Health Meets Asia, meets Bangkok, which is started in the UK, and it's just a safe place to come and feel. Mental health has such a negative stigma around it. So you just come, have a tea, go for a walk, meet people that are kind of struggling or going through the same thing. You don't have to share. You can if you want. But their tagline is find your we. And I absolutely love that, because that's the purpose of living a healthy life, right? Is finding a community you can share with and celebrate with and feel at peace with.
Absolutely. Because sometimes when you're trying to get yourself into like a healthy mindset, or you want to try and transform your life to be more health focused, it's difficult to find your tribe.
Exactly. I mean, you're the product of the 5 people you surround yourself with. right? So,
Love that quote.
and it's so hard here because you'll meet a friend and then they're gone for 2 months traveling. So if you can kind of keep a consistency of like, oh, I know I'm not going to see you this month, but like there's this event coming up in 2 months. Do you want to see me there? And you know, within your tribe, within this healthy community, you'll see them somewhere, right? Like I can't even go to the farmer's market anymore without seeing someone I don't know. So
Yeah, that's right.
it's a good thing.
That's awesome. That's a really good thing. And yeah, I mean, just Bangkok's such a transient place, like you mentioned before. It's that people are coming, they're in, they're out, they stay for like maybe 2 years, especially the expat community.
Yeah.
It's such a it's such a fast-paced turnover of people coming in. So what made how did you start that actually? Tell us about how you even started that.
Building the communities.
Yeah.
So that just came from working with clients, you know, and myself. Like I was here and I didn't have the best surrounding when I first moved here. I definitely was on a self-destructive path, and as I started to shift and make my life transitions, I was like, oh, shit, I need friends. Like I need new friends. So in the process of one, hearing my clients also feeling lonely and wanting a community and feeling that within, why not create it? You know, like if someone's not going to do something, I am at the end of the day. And if you're seeking something, you're the driver of your life. So doing it that way.
Awesome. That's super inspiring. And like I said, you just, because it wasn't available, you decided just to start it yourself.
Exactly. Well, I do it. Bangkok Expats Health Fund is with my friend Joelle, who runs My Healthy Bangkok, which is this awesome Google Maps blog that connects the community in that way. And so she was already building the community online. I was doing it in person, so we just combined forces.
Fantastic. Awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And so when's the next the mental health?
Mental Health Meets is this Sunday at 4 p.m. at Benji Kitty Park.
Wow.
So
that's next to the Asok.
And yes, in Asok, yes. Awesome. And then our next Bangkok Healthified, since Songkran is coming up, isn't until May, because no one's here. But if you join the Facebook group, it's in all the events and stuff. Because we have the dinner party. I think it's May 17th that we'll be doing, just like a potluck. People come, hang out, drink some wine, eat some food, all that fun stuff.
That sounds really good. What a great combination of things to do.
Exactly.
Fantastic. I'm going to actually try and pop down on Sunday myself. Actually, I saw the advert and I clicked joining. So that means I'm already there. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and what brings you what brought you to Bangkok. I'm always intrigued about that.
So do you want the long version or the short version?
Well, we've got time. I think the listeners are going to enjoy the long version.
So I'm from the tundra of Chicago.
Okay.
But I came here originally, so I was at home and my life kind of fell apart there, you know. My mom had unexpectedly died. She fell down a flight of stairs, and like that's the quickness of life. And actually at the time she was planning my trip for me because I was graduating university early. And she was planning a trip here. My favorite animal is elephants, and for some reason I tied elephants together to Thailand. So I came here and I was volunteering in an elephant sanctuary and then in an orphanage, and then kind of went home and things just didn't fit because it wasn't right anymore. And I decided to come to Bangkok, and that's when I kind of went into that self-destructive path that's available to everyone here. And in that just kept cycling, and that's not how I got here. That's not why I stayed, but that's why I came here, was just escaping, you know, and then continuing on that path, but staying is a completely different story. Okay. So it sounds like there's been some hardship that made you want to leave as well. Yeah.
And come to Bangkok. And so following your passion of elephants and passion of like being with it. What was it like in the elephant sanctuary?
It was really beautiful. Right. I mean, the one I was working at the time isn't my favorite one now because I didn't know and all these things, but it was really cool. It was like you literally had an elephant you take care of, and you feed it, you take it on a walk, you bathe it in the morning at 6 a.m. and then again at 4 p.m. and it's like this huge water fight. It's one of the most magical experiences. It was super cool.
Awesome. Was that in Chiang Mai?
Yeah, that was just outside of Chiang Mai. So we were like in a hill tribe country where they didn't even speak Thai. It was like their own language, which was also really cool. So very fun experience coming from a very sheltered home life in Chicago
A
to
huge,
coming here.
huge difference from Chicago to Bangkok.
Oh God, yeah, so much.
And once your mind expands from seeing something new, it's hard for that mind to reshape back.
Exactly, and it was something that like I ended up like saving enough money to live here for 6 months, and then I was like, screw it, like I'm gonna go and try, and then ended up finding a teaching job like everyone does. Ended up finding an apartment. Yes, exactly. And I was like, oh, perfect. Like this is my life now. Like,
awesome.
I didn't mean to, but it kind of just worked.
Yeah, absolutely. And so 4 years, it must feel like home now.
Now it's home. Yeah. At first, it was definitely escapism, but like what kind of kept me here was waking up, and as Elizabeth Gilbert says, is like, what is it? I don't know, any life transformation that the person in question, I can't quote it exactly, but the person in question didn't get sick of their own bullshit, right? You like wake up, you have this whole life transformation, you want to make changes, and that's what made me want to stay here. And now this is home, because I just went home for the first time, or I went back to Chicago for the first time after being here. I hadn't been home.
Wow.
Yeah, and I went back and I was like,
you hadn't been home yet?
No, because my family's travelers. So my brother lives in Tokyo, my dad now lives in Florida, but he works in Japan, so I just fly there to meet them, and we meet somewhere in the world every Christmas. So no need to really, but like going there, I was like, I feel like I'm leaving home, not going home, which is really cool feeling.
Nice feeling.
Really cool feeling.
Home is where the heart is.
Exactly.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit why you so tell us why you started your business.
So like it goes hand in hand with the getting sick of my own bullshit, right? Like I woke up one morning and I was self-sabotaging. I was in an abusive relationship. It was just a really bad time of my life. And I woke up and I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm not living in alignment with my blueprint. And I have this thing where I like to make peace with the enemy in my life. Same thing like when I was in university and wanted to understand my brain. I went and studied psychology and then moved from there. And so then I was like, okay, I had a bad relationship with my body and food. So I went back and I studied nutrition. I was like, well, maybe if I understand it, I'll be able to learn from it. And in that I learned, it's not just about the food. It's about your life. It's your relationships. It's your community. It's all those things. And then I dove into this beautiful thing called the microbiome that they kept talking about, which is the gut, and I was blown away by the power it has over you. And to be completely honest, like studying everything, it was totally selfish purposes. Like same thing, wanted to make peace with the enemy. I was eating all the right foods, doing all these things, but still I had such digestive issues. Like my students used to think I was pregnant because I had such a bloated stomach, and it was just painful. And I was like, I'm doing all the right things. What's wrong? And so then I went back, studied the microbiome, and then it wasn't until like my naturopath was like, so you ready to go to therapy and like talk about the skeletons in your closet? And I was like, what do you mean? I'm doing all the right things, like all these things. And she was like, yeah. And then she started to explain more about the microbiome, and that's when I dove into kind of the field that I'm in now, which is the gut-brain connection. And I understood that it is a top-down or bottom-up approach, but also it's top-down. So you have to also deal with the skeletons in your closets and the shadows in your shoulders to deal with what's happening on your plate and how they both collided. And that's kind of how I dove in, and I ended up healing myself. Like I've never felt lighter, no digestive issues. Like my body totally whacked out, like my hormones. I had like a skin flare-up that took my entire body, the backside of my body, all that stuff, and then finally was able to heal all that from everything. And I was like, I want everyone to feel this way. Like you don't know how good it feels to feel good if you felt shit your whole life, right? So as you start to make those shifts, it can feel very intimidating at first, but when you make the tiny little shifts daily, that's when magic happens. And that's kind of how Healing to Happy then became my passion project, because I want everyone to have that happiness. It's not every day, but as much as you can, right?
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. What an incredible journey that's been. So you were doing all the, you've been trying diet, you've been doing all trying to eat right, exercise, and all these kind of things. But there was something else that needed to be addressed, and
exactly.
And the microbiome. Tell us a bit more about microbiome, just for those that maybe not
listeners at home.
Listeners at home, and actually maybe myself.
So the microbiome is the gut. So actually, we are made up of 90% bacteria. So we are only 10% human, which so cool. I think that's the coolest thing. And these bacteria controls every single thing about us. It's it's not just like your digestion, which is what you would think of when you think of gut, right? It's the foods you crave, the hormones you're trying to balance, the stress management, the brain fog, the anxiety, the depression, all of that is controlled, like your autoimmune diseases, all of that, your illnesses, your allergies, it's all controlled by this gut, and that's why it's called the second brain. There's actually as many neurotransmitters as your brain in your gut, 30. And then the same as your spinal cord, there's as many as that in your gut lining. So it matters not just what, and the communication actually, so it matters what you're eating, yes, but not just what you're eating, but how you're thinking. But I didn't realize, like, going back into my past and when I was learning about it, was like, okay, I'd always struggled with depression. I was diagnosed with depression when I was 15. And then, so again, didn't know how good it felt to feel good. And then I started to look at my plate and the different foods I could be adding in, and that my history of overuse of antibiotics, of abusing my body when I first moved here and through my early adult life, all of those things totally messed up my microbiome. So when you could balance it out, you can really balance your brain and balance your life. It's a long-winded way of explaining the microbiome, but it just controls every single thing about you. And I think it's more so, it's called the second brain, but I would argue that it's the first brain.
Right.
Because it controls everything.
So the microbiome controls everything from how your brain functions into how your body functions. Does it help things like your preventative illnesses?
Exactly. It's epigenetics, right? So we're learning that now, that just because your parents have a certain disease does not mean you're going to get it.
Yeah.
All you have to do is shift your lifestyle. And that's because of the bacteria that you have. But you have to make sure there's so many things you have to do to make sure that's balanced and avoid and live a certain way. Not restriction or anything, but just being aware of it. It's incredible because you can control your own life as long as you become the driver's seat.
Absolutely. I love that. That's a great quote. As long as when you're in control and you're moving the way you want to move, and you're intentionally going in the directions that you want to go, life is much more fulfilled, and you're more fulfilled. Wow, that's blown my mind. That's incredible. So when you say bottom up, top down, sorry, could you explain?
Sure.
Yeah.
So bottom up approach is, so when I have clients that are coming to me, which are struggling with anxiety and depression, I look at their brain and what they're doing outside of that, and how's their stress management, what's their sleep like, stuff like that. But I'm also looking at what foods are on their plate. What's your probiotics? What's your prebiotics? Are you eating the rainbow? Is your diet diverse, right? Like, we're so used to thinking like healthy is having your chicken and your broccoli and sweet potato, and there you go. Like, yes, those foods are great, but you need to be eating the rainbow, and you need to make sure it's diverse. And there's certain foods that have certain impact on boosting your serotonin, because in your gut, 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. So serotonin is your happy hormone. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is that with your microbiome and your serotonin is that when you have depression, they give you an SSRI. Yeah. And that's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So something they're giving you to balance your brain is actually only 10% in your brain. Wow. It blows my mind why you would take a pill. Medication always has their time and their place, and I'm never someone that's like, don't take them. You need them for a short period of time, but we definitely want you getting off of them when the time is right. So I work hand in hand with their doctor on doing that. But 90% of it's made in your gut. So why are we not looking at, like, for me, my mom was a nurse, bless her heart, but she just gave me antibiotics. If I sneezed or looked at her funny, just get me the hell out of the house. She was like, here you go. So my gut was totally screwed up, which makes sense as to why I had depression lingering, and as soon as that balanced, happiness happened. And like, same with like your dopamine, 50% of your dopamine, your reward hormone, is housed in your gut. 85% of your immunity is housed in your gut lining. Like, it's just so important. And so that's why balancing from the bottom to get a better top is how we kind of look at it through my program.
Wow, that's incredible. That's huge. And like you mentioned, like, a lot of times when people if you are sick or you've been struggling with depression or anxiety or OCD is a common one at the moment, that people are very quick to put a label or give you a pill for something without even first investigating where this might be.
Those are just symptoms,
right.
And that's great, but like in Western medicine, and that's why my friends hate me because I never go to the doctor. Like it's the last thing to drag me in there. But like it's all about treating the symptom, and that's not something. And when something comes up, it's more of asking why, you know, as opposed to okay, here, like it's why is that happening?
Right.
Let's have a look. Let's get a little deeper.
Detective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes more time, but wouldn't you rather have a longer life and like a fuller life?
Yeah.
So
absolutely, and find out why it's happening. Why is it going on? And you said that you mentioned that you'd been to. I just heard skeletons coming out of the closet and facing some tough challenges or some tough things. So what happened there?
So the things that were like happening at home, just like my life. When I was 16, like my white picket family just fell apart, as divorces do, but it took a turn for the worse. My mom started to get sick and she became an addict, and then I kind of had to deal with that. And then she just happened to be at home one day and took a step on the stairs and she ended up falling, and that was Shortness of Life. Actually, one of my favorite pieces on my brain pickings is The Shortness of Life. It's on my coffee table. It's one of the most beautiful reads I've ever.
Shortness of Life.
Shortness of Life. I'll send it to you. It's amazing.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that happened, and then I moved here, and it was just self-destruction. Ended up getting into an abusive relationship with myself and my partner, and just everything in that. So it was, you know, we sit there, and when bad things happen, we play victim. You know, I sat there and I was pissed at the world, like, why was this happening? What happened, right?
Yeah.
It's why me? Yeah. Why me, right? Like no one else has a hard day. Why me? And I pitied myself, and I hated that, you know. And so it was finally once I got sick of my own bullshit, sat down, did all the ugly work, all the things, because like, you know, when you're using and when you're doing all of these things, it's when you're numb enough to feel free. That's why you're doing any of it. But you can't feel the light of light if you're always avoiding that bad. You can't. There's no way. You don't actually feel this massive elation that you can actually feel if this whole time you have these shadows and skeletons in your closet.
Yeah.
You know, and so I sat down, I did the dirt. I'm still doing the dirty work, you know, like it's an everyday journey, every single day. And I have loads of healers and spiritual, like I've tried them all just to try and get there to figure out the ones that work for me. Yeah. And it's every day sitting with it and being okay with not being okay, to then feel that light that is achievable of being felt. Yeah. But so many of us just avoid those skeletons. We're like, oh shit, like something bad happened. I'm gonna go have some wine. I'm gonna go have a bottle of wine, actually. I'm gonna avoid this. I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna mask it. I'm gonna go work out too much. I'm gonna start to control my plate because I can't actually, that's the one thing I can't control. Like there's so many things you see it show up in. Yeah. When all you have to do is sit with yourself. People, they're scared. I was listening to a podcast this morning actually, and I was like, I had it in my headphones on Rich Roll. I forgot who he was interviewing. And he was like, how often do you guys like sit without like listening to music or listening to a podcast or reading a book? Like when do you actually sit with yourself? And that was something yesterday, one of my healers, she asked, she's like, you have to sit with that feeling, like where you feel in your body, sit with that. Because I too just instantly will drown it out, read a self-help book, because like it's self-help, right? It's fine. Yeah. No, and that's still avoiding. So you have to sit, you have to face the shadows, so then you can heal those around you, heal yourself to keep growing. And
that's incredible. It's an incredible transformation. Congratulations. That's fantastic. And like you mentioned, it doesn't happen overnight, does it? No. It's not one of these things that you say enough's enough. I'm going to start to take charge. I'm going to start to be in control. And you take all the right steps, and it's a work in progress, right?
100%. It's a journey. It's a journey. It's continuous. Like if you're stagnant, no, like you're missing something, right? And your life is continuing. That doesn't mean you always have to be looking for the bad, but like you should always be looking for improvement, and that means you have to kind of critique something else, and you have to be real with yourself in some way, which is it's not always major. It's not always like facing a death or facing an addiction, right? And so it could be as simple as like making your bed in the morning, like something that's just like bothering you to get into get there.
One of my favorite ones actually is just that first thing in the morning, making your bed, setting yourself up for the day.
It's the rituals.
It's an easy win, isn't it? Yeah.
Who's the guy? It was a Navy guy who said that. He was like, if the only thing you do today is make your bed.
Yeah. Is that Goggins? Is that Goggins? That wasn't Goggins. It was before Goggins.
No,
I think.
yeah, it was before him. I
Before
can't remember. One of
Goggins,
my friends
yeah.
shared it with
He's
me on
amazing.
Facebook. But she's like, you do this, because I tell all my friends that. I'm like, just make your bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first thing with clients as well. I'm like,
Yeah.
make your bed. They're like,
Absolutely.
really? Like, what's my homework? I'm like, make your bed. They're like,
Yeah.
what does that have to do with nutrition? I'm like, you're going to feel so much better when you come home, and it's just
Yeah.
getting into the habit of doing something,
Yeah,
right? And it's
absolutely.
just one thing at a time. It doesn't have to be like you wake up and like you have this whole, like, this transformation took 4 years. This did not happen overnight.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's just baby steps every day and building on top of it.
So as people are trying to make these small changes, these small steps, what's the biggest tips you could give them when facing these? So when starting a program like this, what would you say is like the best tip for those who are just starting to take charge of their lives or want to make that breakthrough?
First thing that's coming to me is like make it sacred.
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to this podcast lately and it's on repeat, but it's so true. It's finding a ritual that you can kind of go with, and it as simple as brushing your teeth, making your bed, drinking your water, just being more aware and illuminating your daily doings in some way, because if you don't have pleasure, you're not going to want to do things if it feels like work, right? So if it's making your bed, start there, but be there when you're making your bed. Don't be thinking of the 8,000 other things you have to be doing in the day, because that's not going to make it sacred. That's not illuminating something, right? And so just bringing attention to what you're doing, bringing stillness, and moving from there. You know, otherwise it's going to be too much. You're going to fall off the wagon, because how many New Year's resolutions don't actually last? It's coming up in April, so that's probably everyone.
Yes, it's getting close now. It's getting close.
So it's finding the one thing and moving.
There you go.
Baby steps, but making it sacred.
There you go, guys. Making it sacred. Being in the moment, being present, appreciating that task or that ritual, that sacred moment for what it is.
Exactly.
Awesome. Incredible answers and insights today, and it's been so mind blowing for me learning more and more about gut health. And already I'm thinking about the rainbows on my plate or lack thereof, and how I can start to improve those myself. What are the symptoms of poor gut health? If somebody had poor gut health, what kind of symptoms would they be showing?
So the number one thing is poor digestion. That's the first thing that people would notice. But other things are skin flare-ups. That's a big one. Allergies, autoimmunities. If you're getting sick all the time, if your hormones are imbalanced, if you have brain fog, depression, anxiety, all these things are signs that you have a gut imbalance. It may not be the only thing, but that's getting to the root and healing that. You will see monumental impact on your overall health. If any of those things are resonating and that's what you're kind of dealing with, start by looking at your gut and what you're eating, probiotics, prebiotics, all that kind of fun stuff.
Right, wow. And is there anything to do with sort of genetics or sort of like the way that people, because I read somewhere something about when depending on how you're born, or like sort of the way in which people are brought into the world, like babies are brought into the world.
Okay, so like C-sections. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Yeah. Okay, so
because I'm having a baby next month.
Yes. So the way the microbiome it first starts. This is good. So having a child, the way your microbiome, the first thing is through the birth canal. And that's the start of it. And the way C-sections are, it's like 30% increase in C-sections because we're too busy that we're literally scheduling our babies into our planners as opposed to like letting it be natural. But so the microbiome comes from the birth canal, and then it grows into this 3-pound mass. But if you're bypassing that, the first bacteria so it also matters what the mom's bacteria is. And that's then brought into you. But you can't change it, you can't improve all these things. But the start of it comes from how the mom is, and then how the bacteria gets on the child. And if that's bypassed through a C-section, then they are starting to do like swabs now. They'll take like a cotton swab and swab it on the baby, but the first contact is the doctor or like a cradle or whatever it is, as opposed to the mom. And so it's already screwing up the microbiome from the get-go. And then we're looking at formulas instead of breast milk and all of that, and how, because we're just detaching from the natural way of things. And so it's a huge catalyst? No, that's not the right word. Whatever, to tell what's going to come in the future.
Right. And are we seeing signs that predominantly when we have C-section kids, there's not as much microbiome going trans.
They have more allergies
Right.
and all of that. So
Okay. Yeah. Because my fiance Kaylee, of course, you know,
Yes,
Kaylee. She's very adamant about how we go skin to skin,
Yes.
straight away, getting that bacteria as much bacteria
Exactly.
as possible. So.
yeah, I've seen her at some of the sauerkraut workshops and all that stuff.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
She's
That's
into
right.
it.
Oh, absolutely, she's into it. Yeah. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic to learn more. And what are your thoughts about the correlation between our bodies and our mental health?
Everything. There's a reason it's called the second brain.
Okay.
It's one, the communication from the gut to the brain, so via the vagus nerve. I think it's so beautiful. They call it action potentials. Like it's giving off these different, like you don't
That's
know,
great
so
name.
right? It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
action
It's
potential.
beautiful.
Awesome.
And like you don't know what's going on. Like you don't have to tell your heart to breathe, your food to digest, any of that stuff. So the things that are going on between the gut and the brain, you're not aware of. It totally works on its own. But the biggest thing is that 90% of the communication you would think is top down, but it's bottom up.
Right.
So if you're looking to think better, feel better, thrive in this world,
Yeah.
start from the bottom. Start like that entire 3-pound mass is just so beautiful and influences and helps you thrive. So looking and making sure you're having a diverse diet, making sure you're moving your body well, getting in the good foods, the bad food, they're not the bad foods, the good foods, the waters, getting in the sleep and all that stuff, getting tongue-tied as always.
Yeah. Okay, so bringing all those
Yeah,
together.
especially like when it comes to mental health, like I said, that's just like my biggest thing. Especially, I've seen it in my own life. You know, how I said before, like I didn't know how good it felt to feel good.
Yeah.
Zero clue. And now I've seen through my clients. Like I've gotten all my clients off of their medications, which is beautiful. I mean, I haven't. They have.
That's awesome.
They've done it. Yeah, they've taken what I've shared with them, and they've been able to slowly work themselves off, and now look at their plate to help boost their happy hormones or help ease their anxiety. And like the way it works is like, think of it, when you have low neurotransmitters in your gut, that's constipation. When you have low neurotransmitters in your brain, that's depression.
Right.
Those two things go hand in hand. Like every single time, if you have depression, you're struggling with constipation. If you have anxiety, when you have high neurotransmitters in your gut, that's diarrhea and cramping. When you have high neurotransmitters in your brain, that's anxiety. It goes hand in hand. Like any study you look up, any of my clients I've worked with, anything, those two things are so tied together. So taking care of that vagus nerve, taking care of the gut is so powerful.
That's so powerful. That's awesome. And I like just what you mentioned about when you said you've empowered these your clients to effectively take control of their lives. So they're now putting these practices in themselves. So it's once they learn how to do it, they've now been able to do it by themselves.
It's so great because like I'll have, like you said, Bangkok is so transient. Not that all my clients are here, but like I've seen a lot of them and then they move somewhere else and we'll continue on, we'll keep in touch, and they'll be like, oh, I'm in X country, whatever. And then I'm finding this here, and now it's so much more difficult. I can't find like my sauerkraut, so I'm making it at home now, and like all these different shops, and they're like on the hunt. And I'm like, do you remember when we first started this, and you didn't want to do anything that I was saying? And you're like, that's too hard. I don't want to. And now they're like, I'm going on hunt for cute cafes and like different little shops around, and I'm having my friends and like all this stuff. I'm like, oh, that is what ignites my soul, because it's a ripple effect. Because now it's not even here, right? Like they're influencing their husbands, their wives, their children, their friends, their new countries, their new continents that they're in. Like that is the beauty of it, is when someone is so jazzed up about what they just learned that they spread it. And like they're taking what they learned. Like it's not, obviously no one has to live the same way I do, but they're taking the snippets that resonate with them, running wildly with it into their own lives. And I think that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, it's so inspiring.
Yes.
That's so cool. I love it when people, same thing when I see people like taking control of their health and their fitness as well, especially, and they start to exercise when they're overseas or exercise when they move country, and they send me photos of themselves and also their family members who have started on some of the programs as well.
It's the ripple effect.
It is,
It's the beauty of it all. Like, it's all I could ever ask for.
That's awesome. Fantastic. And tell me a little bit about the. Just going to continue on sideways. Just actually, before we go on to there, I saw some to stay on the mental health part. I don't know if you read it. Did you read the Bangkok Post on the weekend about the rise in suicide rates here in Thailand? Did you read that?
I have not, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
It was incredible, actually. It was it was talking about how in universities. 'Cause I don't know if you saw it recently. Like a few months ago, there was two girls, young girls who jumped off the building in Chulalongkorn University. Very, very sad. And then recently, there's been a couple more, and a lot of the times they're relating it to a lot of the description and the reports are relating it to things like social media and things like that are happening in the things have changed now in this generation to what it used to be. Like people are getting more on social media, and there's this comparison effect. I think that's especially in the young adults these days. How do you think that kind of responds to? How do you think that's kind of responds to people's depression or anxiety?
100%. It's the outside world that affects your inside world, right? And as much as you can do the work on the inside, right, like eating the right foods, you have to look at what's happening around you. And just as you're detoxing your plate, you have to detox your life around you. It's not just the foods you're eating that can help you. You go through your social media feed. Who's inspiring you? How does that make you feel? So like a lot of people, like I'll have them sit down, and even though it could be your best friend, right? If the first thing when you look at that is you're comparing yourself and it makes you feel shit, hide it. Why would you influence that? That doesn't mean you don't love your friend any less. Don't mind you, but like, how's it making you feel? You're that little device, you're in control of it. And I think our outside world, it's talking about it, which is why I'm trying to bring mental health here, because in Thailand, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about our problems. It's literally, I remember the first time I went to go find a psychologist, they put their hands to their head and they did this, like, no, they can't see me right now, but that thing where they like twirl around your ear and they call you crazy, that little hand signal.
Oh, the hand signal.
And I look at them and I go, you did not just call me crazy. And they say it's a psychiatric ward. If you come in with an eating disorder, they check you in. When that's not necessarily what you need, if it's not that bad, that's not that bad, but if you just need someone to talk to, you just need a therapist, not a thing in this country. It's starting to be. It's definitely growing, and I will give them that, but it needs to be, and that's why Mental Health Mates is it's another passion project that I'm really excited to bring to Asia, because in Asia, you're not supposed to do it. And I have clients that are in university, and they'll be struggling with eating disorders or disordered relationships to food, and they're using their allowance to pay for me, but I'm like, well, can't you just talk to your parents, like, instead of struggling every month and all that? But they're like, I tried, they don't understand. They told me to just push through, like, they glorify all this, like, they don't understand. So it starts with the home life. And I think that's something that's beautiful, is that a lot of my friends are now studying mindfulness, and they're trying to bring it into the school system to create a conversation of, like, how often, and we were talking about this the other day, right? How when a kid is throwing a temper tantrum, so often we yell back at them, as opposed to being like, tell me more. Tell me why you're feeling that way. Open that communication, because if you're yelling at that kid, you're telling them that their feeling of anything that isn't light is wrong, and that's not true, right? It's opening up a space that's a community that releases that negative stigma, that releases the judgment, and as well as eating fruit and vegetables and all that stuff. But like, it needs to be somewhere where you can just talk and not be so afraid to be like, hey, I'm not doing okay. And I think we're so afraid of doing that. Like, vulnerability is so scary to people, but no, it's definitely a thing of, like, the social media growing. It's massive, but detox it. If you want to detox your body, detox your feed too. Like, you have choice. You have complete choice of the device in your hand.
Absolutely. And there's almost this kind of expectation that we need to impress people all the time, especially that's never been more right than now, that we always need to show that we're strong.
The highlight reel.
The highlight reel, right? That the smokes and mirrors of what is versus what we expect people to want to see from us.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I definitely try and, like, sit there.
So how would you invite people to be a little bit more vulnerable and be okay with sharing that, you know what, I'm not okay?
By you doing that, like, you have to create that environment environment, you have to do that yourself. It's something that now I think we have this misconception that when we say, hey, I have some feelings that aren't light, like I'm feeling very dark today, that it's a burden on other people. But it's when you're able to find people around you, you're like, I'm sad, and them kind of leaning in and doing that, and it's leading by example. Right? And I think it's taking that step and knowing that it's okay to not be okay. Like it's totally okay to just open up and say, ugh, today sucks.
Right.
It fucking sucks. I'm having a bad day. Like, and that's cool. Like, do what you need, but don't like cave into it. Don't do the self-pitying, the victimizing. Don't mask it in drugs and alcohol, because alcohol's a depressant. It's gonna make it worse anyways. Like, feel good for a second, but sucks anyways. But opening up the communication, I think, is number one, and safe space. And like, so many people are even scared to be vulnerable with themselves. Like journaling, that's an easy way. But how many of us are afraid to be like, I want to come up? Like, so sitting there and just talk to yourself. You know, I am a huge like advocate for just talk to yourself like a crazy person. Talk yourself through it. It's great.
As long as you can talk to yourself, answer internally, but answering externally.
It's fine. You're just like sitting on the street and you're like,
it's
fine.
And so it's okay for you to say, you know, just before you, it's okay just to kind of at some point be, you know what, I'm just feeling shit today. I'm depressed, or I'm feeling anxious, or I'm scared.
Totally.
I'm feeling fear. Fear of what? Fear of the unknown, fear of what's coming next, fear of finances, fear of... And
knowing that that's okay. Like, as opposed to being like, well, I'm afraid, so I need to... Like, no, sit with it. Sit with it. Like, don't try and fix it right away. Like, it's okay to just be like, give yourself, like, what is it? It's 90 seconds for you to fully feel an emotion. I was actually just telling one of my friends this morning who's going through some stuff. I was like, you need to sit with this fear. It takes 90 seconds for your body to process it. But how many of us have just masked it because we didn't want to get deep? That 90 seconds can follow us for years. And as opposed to just take that 90 seconds and unfold. Feel it out, whatever it is, and then carry on. You know, like set yourself a timer. Do it. I think Tony Robbins said it one time where he was like, I give myself 15 minutes of like any negative emotion to like feel it out, and then all right, let's go.
Moving on, let's let go.
Exactly.
Ask yourself a few powerful questions. What does it really mean? What else could it mean?
What can I learn from this? What is this doing for me? Like,
awesome.
that's one of the things I always say is like, life isn't happening for or to you, it's happening for you.
Like, love it. Great quote.
So good.
Awesome. And are you telling me like off air previously about some of your morning rituals and how
such a nerd for it.
Now, this show is all about performance hacks that you can add to your life, your fitness, and your business. So, really interested to know what are your daily rituals that you do? Because when I saw you this morning, you were super grounded, you were super relaxed, and cool, and calm, very.
I got to go touch some trees this morning, so I was extra grounded. It was great.
Oh, okay.
It was great.
Touching some trees.
Yes, but my morning ritual is I wake up. It used to be 5:45, but now it's 6:30.
Okay.
I sit and I'm slow. Like, we're so rushing, so I'm slow to wake up. I have my journal right in my bed with me, so I have like the artist way. I like to write 3 pages straight off the back, whatever's coming up, and then I roll up my mat, and I do some incense, some cleansing with some Palo Santo, cleanse the air, cleanse my body, and then I do meditation for at least 10 minutes. And I was joking earlier that like my morning ritual is literally 2 hours long. If you look at my phone calendar, it says Laura time, 7 to 9. So when I do all this, not everyone has this time, I get it. But finding something to create a ritual around is important. So I do that. I make sure I have my 32 ounces of water to kickstart peristalsis and get the bowels going. And so then I meditate, I journal again, and it's not journaling again, it's doing my 5 gratitudes. And just getting my head in the right mindset, and then I'll move my body. I'll move the energy. Usually I go to the gym. I'll stretch in the morning as well, like straight after meditation I'll stretch, and then I'll come home from the gym, and then my ritual with making my matcha, it's just like a slow warming process, and then I get to work and do that. But I can't, like, if one little thing is off, I'm so sensitive. Like, if I'm rushed in the morning, don't talk to me. I can't. No, I can't do it. So it's just, I love my sacred time. That's me, because my life is of service. That's what I do. It's very much being out there, and I'm an introvert, and people wouldn't guess, but I'm such an introvert. So it's like that time is so sacred to me. I don't turn my phone, you can turn it on and off. Well, yes, obviously you can turn your phone on and off, but like you can set it on times when it turns on.
Yeah.
So my phone doesn't turn on until 9 a.m.
Oh, awesome.
So nothing.
Even that's the great.
Yeah, because like it's, what is it? Gaia's like thing is like, stop scrolling, start unrolling is like their advertisement. I was like, I love that. Yes. So like my phone, don't touch it. I used to be like the person to roll on, but comparison, it's one of those things. But
yeah.
Creating a ritual. But like when I was teaching, so I mean, anyone that is looking to do something, like I was a teacher, I was studying, and I was running my business all at once. I had 15 minutes in the morning. I did not have this whole ritual practice that I had now. It was literally like I'd wake up, I had 5 minutes of meditation. After I drank my water, I had my 5 minutes of meditation, and then I stretched, and then I did a 15-minute workout out the door. Like that was it. And like you can find something that works for you. It's just give yourself 5 minutes. Breathe.
Yeah.
That's it.
Amazing.
Kickstart the rest and the digest. Like you need it in your life.
Yeah. And is that taking that moment to breathe? I mean, that's an incredible ritual, a 2-hour ritual every day.
Well, it includes like the gym time. That's why, because like
yeah.
that's important to me, because that's my meditation, feeling my body, moving my body in some way. So. And
how long does it kind of take for somebody, if someone's going to start something like this? How long does it really kind of take for it to become like habitual and be conditioned into your life? I mean, how long did it take you to?
It was my first saving grace. It was like the one time. For me, it was the time, because this was still when I was like in an abusive relationship. So like when we were living together, those minutes in the morning, that was my time. It's wherever you can find it and implement it. So it was right away, because that was my home. So I don't really know. But I would say, what is it, 21 days to make a habit?
Something like that. That's what they say. Yeah.
So it's but like if it matters to you, if it gives your life purpose, I feel like it's instant. If you find the value in it, like a lot of people, my clients, they're very hesitant to meditation. So like I don't rip off the band-aid with that one. I start with make your bed.
Yeah.
I start with have a glass of water in the morning. It's simple. It's one thing, right? Because then the way the brain works is like it's just doing one thing, but you're creating this cycle in your brain to start creating habits, and you don't even realize it's becoming a habit. But now your brain is getting into this whole neuroplasticity, learning to learn things. Like exactly,
yeah.
That's the word. Learning, and so it's getting into the habits. So then you can just pile it on, and that's usually how I work with my clients. Is it starts very small, and then by the end, the world's your freaking oyster.
Right. You can do anything. Right?
Exactly.
And your success is a sum of many small things done over and over again.
100%. But it could be intimidating. People they wake up, they hire a health coach, and they're like, all right, I'm doing it all right now, everything. And you're like, hold on, honey, like you're gonna hit April with your New Year's resolutions, and it's not gonna work. Like this is exactly how it's gonna work, and that's why they don't work. It's like just make a small thing every day.
Yeah. And looking back now, obviously all this time that you've spent doing your rituals and the success that you've had in not just your life and changing your life around and being happier internally as well as externally in your business as well, can you correlate a lot of that success, the pattern that you've left behind, the trace that you've left behind? Can you put a lot of that down to you? Would you say a lot of that comes, well, some of it, part of it, do you say any of it comes from those daily habits?
Everything. Like you need the structure of your life. Yes, we're not supposed to be rigid and like that's not how life is supposed to be meant by the book, but you need some guidance, right? You need those like sidelines, whatever, I'm like acting out right now, but it's like I'm picturing like the bowling lanes with like those bumpers.
Yeah.
That's what you need, and I think that's what a morning ritual does. Like you start off, you sit down, you put your list, you put that together. Like that's part of my ritual as well. It's like I make my list for the day to then get what do I need to do, and it's only 3 things, because like if you put too much on your list, then you're gonna feel like a failure by the end of the day because you didn't get it all done. So it's just starting small, but it's definitely doing the daily rituals so you can live and thrive and do things that are important. And I've noticed, like if I don't do it, I'm an
Right.
Like, if I woke
I can't
up,
imagine that.
it's like, but now my body is like so in tune that like even if I don't set my alarm, I'm up at 6:30.
Right.
Like it just wakes up and I'm like, oh, perfect. Like I forgot, my bad.
It does feel good when you get that morning routine. Though.
Yeah.
When you get up and it becomes such a more of a purposeful day.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rest of the day becomes purposeful. You start to visualize as well what you're going to be doing throughout the day. And
it's the first thing on my checklist, so at least I know if I do anything in the day, I at least got my morning routine down, and that's an achievement.
Yeah.
You know, that's something to lay my head down at night and be like, damn girl, good job. Like,
awesome. Yeah.
You didn't hit the rest of it, but we'll get there. Like, you did one.
Yeah.
That's enough. That's better than none. It's
Right.
better than none.
Right, and it's extra. Awesome. Excellent. And tell us a little bit about, this has been super informative and lots of great hacks that we can add into try to add into our lives as well. Is there, tell us a little bit about what you like doing for fun. Tell us about yourself. What do you like doing for fun?
I like to hug trees, to cook, to just do all the weird hippie things. I love being in nature, hanging out with my friends, having dinner parties, drinking wine, going dancing, eating chocolate, all those fun things. Working out, you know, like it used to be one of those things where I was like so bad at like playing, but I realized like my play is just everyday life. Everyday life.
Awesome.
So it's nice.
Everyday life's playing.
It is. It really is.
Awesome. Great. So, another great question I've got for you here. So, you're having dinner. Right? You're at one of your dinner parties. Let's just say there's
What are we eating? Just kidding.
straight to the food. It's a meal of your choice. Whether it be like there's matcha there. There's
perfect matcha.
Yeah, it's
Salt.
matcha. There's some trees there.
Wow, that's great.
And you can invite 3 guests, like anyone that you want from any time, and who would you choose and why? Any 3 guests from any time, any era, and who would you choose? 3 guests, who would you choose and why?
I would say my mom, my dad, and my brother. But the other ones that I would invite, I would say Tony Robbins, but I feel like everyone would pick him, so he's probably busy.
Okay.
So
he's at
so many dinner parties with so much matcha. So I would choose Dr. Mark Hyman, just because I think he's awesome. I'm in between Lacey Phillips or Shaman Durek, just because I think they'd be really fun. And who else?
Choices.
Rich Roll.
Rich Roll.
Yeah. I would just want him to speak the whole time.
I can listen to that guy all day.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? That's what I did on my run this morning. I was like, just keep going.
Just keep talking, Rich.
Whatever, yes. Whatever you're saying.
You could be saying anything. I agree with all of that.
Every single part of his journey. But yeah, so Rich Roll.
Yeah.
We're in between Lacey Phillips and Shaman Durek. And Dr. Mark Hyman, just to flood my brain with all the gut-brain connection stuff.
Awesome. Of course, I'd get an invite as well.
Yes,
so
of course.
That's what I'm saying.
Of course.
Awesome. Well, Laura, amazing. Thank you so much for coming onto the show today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time. That was you was dropping some knowledge bombs today for everybody. That was like unreal. And a lot of people are going to get some great information from this podcast. I know it. Thanks for joining. And how can people get a hold of you? People want to talk to you a bit more.
Slide into my DMs. So they can find me on Instagram at LauraMartin_H2H.
Yeah.
My Facebook is Facebook Healing to Happy. Website Healing to Happy. What else? That's it. That's really all that stuff. Trying to think. I think that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. And we've got the this Sunday we're going to have 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Yes.
In Benja Kitty Park.
In Asok. Yes.
Awesome.
Come find your weed. I love it so much.
Awesome. I can't wait. We'll definitely be coming down.
Yes. And then I am speaking at the Hive Speaker Series, which is like TED Talk style.
Nice.
On March 19th. At 7 p.m.
What's your topic?
I will be talking about stress and how it relates to the gut.
Excellent.
Calm down and get all the deliciousness of life.
Ooh, that sounds relaxing. Oh, that sounds relaxed. Awesome.
That's good.
So thanks again for having us, for joining us on the podcast show today. It's been incredibly informative. And that's the end of the podcast for today. Thanks everybody for listening in. And as always, We'll see you on the next episode, on the next show. With passion, with health, it's free.